Hey, Wendy, how are you?
Hey, Connor, I'm great. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Good. We got a good group and a good interaction going on as well. So looking forward to your insights.
Excellent. Thank you. Connor, did you get my email? I would really love to have the ability to share my files.
Yeah, hold on now a second. We'll
Right.
make
I'm
sure that
having
happens.
I'm having trouble seeing my own screen the way.
Right. So I'm going to make you a co-host, isn't it? That's what we do. Yeah. Bear with me now for a second. Do.
I can't get it to work. It should be a better background than that for videos. Oh, well. So if I log out and log back in, you can see me, right? Whatever.
We got you.
So
Yeah.
all right, that's fine. So great. I'm excited about being here. I'm grateful to have the chance to help NSA. NSA has done so many things to me since I joined in 95. So that's awesome. I am a literary agent. I sell books to
Sorry,
publishers.
Wendy, hold on a second. We seem to have half the group hasn't come back yet. So just give us another couple of seconds, okay?
All right, then no problem.
And I'll make you a co-host. I'm making you a co-host
Thank
now. And do you want to see whether or not you can share screen?
Yeah. Okay. So you keep doing something in my video, which changes the background, but that's okay. Let's see. Yeah, I can share my screen. Thank you so much for
Just
that.
make sure you can do it. We'll
right.
start off as I indicated to you. We'll start off with who the heck is Wendy, but we'll just.
Yep. As you wish.
Can you share the screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I don't want to start with that, but I can do it.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. So then, okay, all right. Well, welcome back, everyone. And Wendy, what we've got is we've got 12 people registered for the class. Not everyone
Great.
is on here this morning, and also we have invited members of NSA Illinois chapter if they wish to join us to come into the class as well.
Terrific.
So, right. So, question as I indicated to you previously, as we start off with, who the heck is Wendy Keller?
Thank you. So I'm a literary agent since 1992. I've been selling just books, not screenplays anymore. And I joined NSA for the first time in 1995. I've represented 11 of the past presidents. I've sold 1,800 book deals and related rights around the world. I've had 19 New York Times bestsellers. I personally, as a hobby, I'm the author of 31 books published by legitimate publishers and a bunch of ebooks and stuff like that, self-published things. And I worked with speakers, and there are a lot of speakers that went on to be CSPs, partly because they worked with me, maybe, and also because I sold their book, but also I got so enthusiastic about what I've learned from working with speakers that I opened a bureau in 1997. I book about, I don't know, not personally, but we book about 15 to 20-ish, I'm going to say, speeches a quarter, and they're all for my own clients. We don't handle anyone who isn't my client. So I've learned a lot about speakers and the value of back of room and pre-sales and the, how you guys tend to think about whether or not you can, you should just rush out and self-publish. So you've got product, or you guys call it a calling card, which makes my skin crawl, but there's a lot of pieces to this, and there's a lot of strategy to becoming successful as a speaker and as an author, and becoming successful as one or the other tends to help the other side. So a successful speaker is going to be much better at selling books to HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Penguin Random House. Meanwhile, a successful author is going to have a much better experience boosting their fees. So for instance, I have an author who was just starting out as a speaker. He was speaking for, honorariums basically. And he went, when I took him over and sold his book, he went up to 7,500. And now he's got the quantity of speeches. So now he's at 10,000 for the next bookings. So it's been a really wonderful opportunity to watch him grow. It's not that I'm the magic genie of everything, but I do have some strategies that I've picked up from being around you guys for so many years, especially the CSPs that I've represented and the past presidents. So that's the model. And so today, what I want to share with you, what Connor wants me to share with you, is how to make decisions about publishing that are going to help you long-term. I think that's the greatest gift I can give you. And then how to figure out if you do choose to go with a traditional publisher, or they choose to go with you, what you should be asking for in the contract, because there are very few agents who work with speakers. So a lot of literary agents don't know or aren't motivated to help you get, for instance, a good discount on back of room sales. That's who I am, and that's what I'm here to teach. And that's your answer, Connor.
Okay, all right. Kevin O'Connor is my co-dean for this class. He may have some questions for you as well. So what we do is we just make it as interactive as possible. You present when you want to, and we take questions from the group.
Right.
Can I ask one question,
You
just
bet.
general one? You represent speakers, so do you actually have a particular niche that you present to publishers? Or what's
So
your...
that's a great question. All agents specialize. So every day someone will pitch my company. We get about, I don't know, maybe 200-ish pitches off, you know, that we didn't ask for every month, which is fine. But about the only things we represent are business, sales management, marketing, finance, and entrepreneurship, and self-help, which is everything from how to raise your kid to how to train your puppy, right? And science, really important science books. I have several bestsellers that are by Nobel laureates or Nobel nominees or well-known climate scientists. One of my clients, he was just, and I sold his book in 9 countries besides the US. He was just nominated for Prince William's Earthshot Prize. His name is Dr. Wallace J. Nichols. So I love serious science books, but for speakers, most of you fall into either business or self-help. I do not represent memoirs. Most publishers don't buy them. Most people can't write them. They don't know what they're doing. So there's a, you know, I'm known for being honest and maybe even blunt, but the value is that the books that sell are primarily business and self-help. So if you can write in those 2 categories, you're much more likely to be successful as a speaker and as an author. As you guys all know, 85% of the money in the speaking business is in the business category, right? Those of you who are starting out in education or going out to speak to the Kiwanis Club, you have a path in front of you that's going to be long, as opposed to figuring out a way to shift your great idea that's going to apply to women who are, you know, left-handed, who have been divorced for 9 weeks, and, you know, all this other niche-y stuff speakers tend to do. You're going to be much more successful if you can also put a spin on it that will appeal to a corporate audience. That's where the money is. You can talk to any of my friends who run bureaus. You can talk to any of the speakers, and that's where the money is. So if you have a business idea that can be built out of your self-help, help everybody kind of idea, you will be more successful, and then you can afford to spend your time marketing your other personal growth stuff on the side. That's just the model. I didn't make it up. I'm just telling you, if you have something, if you want to succeed as a speaker, that's what I see after working with and rejecting tens of thousands of people who want to be speakers or who can't get off the ground. If you've been in this business 2 years and you're not making $100,000, you probably are pitching the wrong content or pitching it the wrong way. Every year I run a filming event, right? So speakers come in, not necessarily you guys, although there's always some NSA people, but people who are out in the corporate world making money as speakers already, who want to do a video that allows them to be on a big stage. I rent a huge stage. I live in LA. Bring in my demo reel guy, and we film you saying whatever you want to say. But if it's not based on business, there's no return on investment. A lot of people take advantage of the NSA because you guys are such lovely people and you have such hope in your hearts. And I really want to punch everybody who does that. It is so wrong. There is a straight and narrow path to publishing and a success, economic success as a speaker. And if you follow it, you get the results. And if you try and reinvent the wheel, you usually don't. So sorry to be so forceful, but this is the voice of experience, my friends. I'd like to show you how publishing works if I have Connor's permission, and then I'm open to any questions you have. I'm here to serve you today.
Go for it. Go for it.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen now and show you. I teach a class called the Book Proposal Workshop. I have editors who work for me, so they help the people I'm teaching to learn how to write a book proposal, because a book proposal is what you need if you're going to sell your book to a traditional publisher. So in order to make this as valuable as possible in the time allotted, I wanted to share this, and then we can talk about the difference and outcomes, long-term and short-term, between self-publishing, hybrid publishing, and other publishing. Can you see my screen?
Not at the moment, no.
No? Okay, so let me share it. I'm sorry. There we go.
Yeah,
All
we can
right.
see it
So
now.
here, can you see it now? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So a book proposal is the tool that literary agents use to sell books to publishers. I say that somewhere. Here it is.
Wendy, could you go down? Could you make that bigger, like presentation mode?
It's in presentation mode. Oh, well, okay.
As far as I know, that's what I'm in. Can you see it clearly, Kevin?
No, go down to the bottom where it's got that little easel, and then we'll just see one slide at a time. There you go.
How's that? Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so a book proposal is to publishers what a business plan is to venture capitalists, and for the same reason. They don't necessarily like you. They're in business to make a profit. Your lovely idea, your beautiful writing doesn't really matter to publishers. They are asking if they can make money off of your book, and that's their only question, right? The rest of it is not that critical. I'm going to move down. This is because I don't have it in slide mode. So I'm going to talk to you about how books are acquired. So a book proposal is 5 parts, right? The overview, which answers this question, the bio, in which you cannot lie. In the old days, speakers lied to me, lots of them, and therefore I lied to publishers and put my reputation on the line. When they said, oh, I do 90 speeches a year for $10,000, there was no way to prove it. Now there's a lot of ways to prove it. So you need to have credibility in the subject matter upon which your book is based. You also need to have a bio that shows that you're out there and other people are paying you for speaking or ebooks or whatever related to that same content. Then your chapter summaries, and then your competitive analysis, which is where you outline the heart of your book and how it's different from everyone else's. And then your marketing plan, what you're going to do to help the publisher to sell the book. People have been misinformed that publishers do nothing. As reality starts to hit, there are 48 million books on Amazon. And the challenge is that a lot of those books are not going to sell more than 118 copies. You guys as speakers will probably do better than that, but it's not really as clear a decision as, oh, I'm going to make all the money because I self-published. You are trading some pretty important things. If you want me to talk about that, I will. Okay, so after you write this, it is represented by an agent. The agent sends it to book publishers who have an exact interest in that kind of book. For instance, I said earlier, my agency represents business books, which includes finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, sales, management, customer service, those kinds of things. There are different editors for those subcategories because all of us specialize. So I'm only, as an agent who's been doing this since Earth was formed, there are only a few editors, maybe 12, 15 editors in the world who can, in the US, who can afford to pay you in advance and who also are willing to help you promote this book because that's their expertise. So those editors are going to get your book from me, your proposal from me, and they're also going to get it from all the other agents who sell those kinds of books. I hope that makes sense. Publishers are starving for good work. Good work is a great idea that they haven't seen 92,000 times before, plus an author who has the kind of platform that will make that book sell. That's what you bring as a speaker. Speakers are the holy grail in publishing. You guys are the most valuable kinds of authors that I can ever present to a publisher. The only thing bigger than being a speaker is to come in and have your own talk show or your own TV show that's doing phenomenally well, or a social media platform that's literally over 1 million. Literally over 1 million. If you don't have 1 million social followers on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever is related to your topic, it's probably not that worth your effort from a publisher's point of view. Meeting planners feel differently, but publishers are pretty picky about that. But if you're a speaker, wow, that's a big deal. Okay. So to sell a good book, you have to plan a good book, and planning starts with writing a good proposal. There are books out there. I have a course, bookproposalworkshop.com, that's going on right now. I do it twice a year. There's all kinds of ways to create a great proposal that will get people super excited about your work, but it has to be written in the way that publishers and before them agents are most likely to take it in. I hope that makes sense. So I want to go briefly through how nonfiction books are acquired. This will take 3 minutes, maybe 5. And then I'm open to any questions you have so that I can be of service to you and help you actually achieve your goals as an author and as a speaker. So the agent will send your project to those perfectly chosen editors. And then hopefully 5, 6, 10, all 20 of them will take an interest in it and read that proposal. Once they've read the proposal, they're going to take it to something called Ed Board, which is short for editorial board. No one person in publishing makes a buy decision. It might look like that from the outside, or you might have been misinformed that because you know somebody who knows someone in the mailroom, you're going to get your book done. I hear that pretty much every month. The truth is that it's made by consensus. That's the only way books are acquired. No one gets full benefit of acquiring a book that goes on to become a bestseller, and no one gets pain if the book doesn't succeed at the level expected. Now, everyone on that Ed Board meeting is going to have different interests. And when you understand what they're thinking about, which has nothing to do with you or your beautiful content, it really has to do with other pieces. When you understand that, you will be well ahead of everyone else trying to get a publisher in this time period. So the sponsoring editor, let's say that little purple guy, is the one who's read your entire proposal and loves it. His colleagues are the other editors who probably also have 2 or 3 projects to pitch in that Ed Board meeting. Usually they pitch 6, maybe 8 total between the 3 or 4 of them, depends on the size. The next person who has the most veto power in the room is the salesperson. The salesperson has looked up how well competitive books did and how likely they are to be successful with yours and how many competitive books are out there and what kind of sales numbers they've had with your kind of content, because it definitely exists in some form. And they have those numbers and they're ready to say no. They're the person that most often says no in these meetings and shoots things down. The other people are the marketing director and the publicist. These are the people who really do, believe it or not, push you out there. I have a client I sold to HarperCollins maybe a year ago. She's getting a publisher is paying for a billboard in Times Square. So people say, well, publishers don't even market. A billboard in Times Square is unusual, but marketing efforts are certainly not. They're certainly not. Publishers, especially now, put way more energy into those books that they think are going to be successful than I've ever seen since the very beginning of my career when they had money to burn. And then next there's the publisher, and this person has the veto power over the Ed Board, but they're going to listen to everybody's point of view. The sponsoring editor is pitching you really hard. The salesperson is going, well, you know, the sales are marginal. The marketing director is going, yeah, but this person's a speaker. We love speakers because they sell lots of books. And that's the truth. But your proposal goes into this meeting all by itself. I can't be there. You can't be there. There's no options. It's not done that way. So that sponsoring editor needs to have a good proposal that's armed for bear. I always tell authors, please don't write your whole book until you already have the publisher's check in your bank account. That's the smartest way to do it. And if you're planning, oh, maybe I'll self-publish or maybe I'll find a publisher, then here's another solution. Write a great book proposal. Find an agent, because you're a speaker, you'll certainly find an agent. Find an agent, give them your proposal, let them shop it. And while they're shopping it, now you can go back and spend that time writing the book. Worst case is you've got an offer for 10 or 20,000, 25, 50, whatever, $1,000, depends on your platform. And now you can choose between a publisher and while they have to offer and going off and self-publishing, or worse, doing a hybrid deal. So I want to show you lastly how decisions are made in the publisher's minds. So the sponsoring editor is going to conduct a speech, basically a pitch to his people or hers. The question they're all asking is, will this book make money? We don't care about the content. So the first thing is, wow, the author speaks to 10,000 people a year. That's your aggregate audience. That might be 20 engagements for you. It might be 3. I don't know what kind of speaker you are, but publishing tends to calculate this as 30%. A crummy speaker will sell 30% of the audience in back of room sales. A general speaker, most of the time, will pre-sale about 1/3 of the time. So we know that a typical book could sell maybe 3,300 units if the speaker speaks to 10,000 people a year. It's just a rule of thumb, but it's the rule of thumb all the publishers use. Next, let's say you have 45,000 social media followers, which is really small. And the publishers are going to calculate that at 0.25%, which means 1 out of nothing, right? That's a tiny percentage. It's a fraction. It's a fraction. So they're going to say, okay, maybe this social media will sell 115 books. So when we add those together, let's say this author is going to sell 3,415, but the salesperson is going to say, well, our last book on a similar topic sold 2,400 and change. So the publisher is going to say, well, so we can expect that this author, based on what we know about them, is going to sell 2,500 to 3,500. This is really how it's done. This is your content. We don't care about your content. We've already passed your content. This is about what we think you can do to help us help you to sell the book. So if they expect 2,500 or 3,500 in sales, they're going to say, this book's list price, paperback's going to be $22, let's just say. And if we're going to figure that they're going to sell, let's say an average of 3,000, then we expect our gross receipts will be $66,000, right? So if they're going to make $66,000, they're going to give 50% almost away to Amazon, maybe more, right? Because Amazon's a big distribution, but they're not the only distribution. They're only 55%. Those of you who go, well, I'll just publish it on Amazon, you're losing 50% of the market. Goodbye to those clients. So if they do that, now they're down to less money. The publisher's making less money. Let's say your rule of thumb is you're going to make 10%. That's not true, but it's around there. So you're going to make $6,600. So they're going to call your agent and go, you know what? The most we can reasonably offer is $5,000. And then the agent is going to say, I think it's worth 10 because he or she just picked up this media or just got all these speaking engagements, or, she just did this amazing event at Bank of America and they've hired her for the next 5 venues. So that is how this is going to work for you when you go out to pitch your book. I hope that did not overwhelm anyone. I hope it encouraged you. There are so many ways to game the system, and I'm here to help you figure out how to do that and also how to choose between publishing, self-publishing, and hybrid publishing. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Wow.
Okay, Christina, your question. Thank you. I hadn't seen half of that information before, Wendy. Really insightful.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I hoped it was helpful.
Christina.
So what I'm hearing from you is that the speaking comes first, the writing of the book comes later.
No, the writing of the book comes after you've got a check in your bank account. Yeah. So that's not later. You can write a proposal tomorrow. And if you've got 5 or 10 or 20 speaking engagements per year, that means something. If you've got 50 speaking engagements and you're speaking to 200 people, then 200,000 people, that means something else. So it is an option. As soon as you've done about 20 engagements in your career, even if they were, honorarium, then you can start to game the book as a leverage piece, because 2 things happen when I or another agent sells your book, Christina. When we sell your book, you have 2 opportunities. Number 1, you can now use the book to start to impress, not meeting planners, but the people who should know about you. So I tell every client, I say, okay, so I just sold your book. Now I want you to pick your 15 most desired companies that you would like to speak for, consult for, become their coach, whatever, to their staff or partner with, whatever. And you call the presidents and you say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, I've got a book coming out with so-and-so and a publishing house, and I would like to interview you for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes by phone, by Zoom, whatever, about my book, because you're such a great example of whatever you're going to put in chapter 3. Doesn't really matter, right? Now, what do? Oh, you create this connection with him. Oh, you're so wonderful. Thanks for telling me I'm wonderful. And thanks for liking the way I'm running my company. And and now you've created a bond. So if they don't hire you right off the bat, then you send them a copy of the book with a little Post-it pad that says, I couldn't have done this without you. Oh, gee. And then guess what? Now they've had 2 experiences with you where they're like, wow, that person is an equal. That speaker is not run of the mill. Now I have a relationship. Hey, Carol, they call their meeting planner, Carol, get Christina. We love Christina. She's amazing. Now you've created that bond. The other thing that happens is I always tell speakers, the day I sell your book is you raise your speaking fees by 50%, right? Any future bookings. So you freak out the meeting planners. I better book you now before it goes up, right? The cheap meeting planners. And then when the book actually hits the shelves, all you have to do is say, my book just came out and now I'm getting some media, because the book always generates media if you do it right. wow, I'm getting media. My book is everywhere. Sorry, I'm not going to do 5,000 anymore. I'm now at 15. Or I might come down from Mount Olympus now. That's how it really works. That's how you game this, my industry, to help your industry. It really is.
Hi, Wendy.
Did that help, Christina? Good. Okay.
Hi, Wendy. Kevin here. When Cindy Maxey and I ran into this with our last book, they said, how many copies are you going to buy personally?
Did you sell to Wiley?
I think that was it.
Yeah. Don't ever sign. All of you, please never sign with Wiley. No agent who has any dignity will pitch to them and they suck up the speakers. It's partly my fault why they do this. I personally am responsible for the mistakes and horrendous treatment that speakers get at Wiley. Please don't sign with Wiley. Please don't sign with Wiley. Okay. You will have to sell more books than they will give you up front. And it is an outrage and an insult and disrespectful to speakers and disrespectful to the publishing industry. And it is my fault.
So take us back for a minute to a few years ago when you were starting, and you went
34 of them 34 years ago,
and you went to Connor Cunneen's Literary Agent Academy, and you were brand new. Yeah. And looking back, what would you do either differently, or what did you do brilliantly that really got some traction for you quickly?
I'm not a speaker. I'm an agent and I own a bureau. But what I would tell you guys to do is go to kellermedia.com, my website, kellermedia.com/biz, B-I-Z -quiz, Q-U-I-Z, right? Go to kellermedia.com/biz quiz and pick out and take the little test there, right? We're not going to spam you to death. Take the little quiz there and figure out where you are most likely to land as a self-promoter, right? Some of you speakers are gifted and you have a knack for it and you become superstars on TikTok or something. Other ones are really good at speaking, but you haven't figured out how to market yourself, right? Others are good at other things. You should only do what your really, really natural aptitude is inclined toward. So go there and take the quiz. When my friend Steve Rizzo, you guys might know him, he's a CSP. When Steve Rizzo went and took it, it came out that you're a speaker. And that was funny for us. But the point is, if you are naturally, really, truly a speaker and you're not a marketer, you're not whatever, it's not a matter of just hiring some stupid bunch of people in the Philippines or India or whatever. It's a matter of you taking the role of being the boss. So you have to test your content, the content you're going to put in the speech and put in the book, and test that content against social media. And then once you've done that and you know that you're packaging your content in a way that's appealing to the greatest number of strangers and it's starting to get you interest, then you turn that into a speech, right? I do this so often. And it may not be what you think it is. And then once you've figured out that content is making people respond to you, now you can package it as a speech. Most people wake up in the morning and go, oh, the great pumpkin told me to become a speaker. Here I am. And it doesn't really work that way. You have to have a marketing strategy. And that marketing strategy, the proof is in the response. So if you're not getting the responses and you've been trying to become a speaker in this way for 6 months, change your content, change everything. There's a wonderful friend named Sally Hogshead. I don't know if you guys know her, but her story is she's super successful. Her story is she was struggling to get $2,500 engagements, trying to fill her calendar. And then she had this epiphany that she wasn't going to get there doing what she was doing because it wasn't working. So she changed her content strategy. She hired an image consultant. She got better demo tape, not some crap she threw up on YouTube, right? Oh, this is my demo. And I look like an idiot because it's not properly edited and it's not, and I'm talking on the floor while they're eating lunch. Like, that's so stupid. Don't waste your precious time with that crap. I run a demo filming event once a year where they do it. Like I said, if you footage, then get good footage, but make sure it's on the topic that you are proving people are interested in. And once you start to get social proof, you will start to hear questions from your audience. This is important. Your social media audience and your audience live or Zoom or whatever. And then you take that content and you start to think, what is the common denominator? Because that's your book. That's your book. The question that the world is giving you. That's the topic you should be writing about, not your Aunt Susie moving to Wisconsin. That is not the book, right? It's just not, right? There's so many opportunities. This is so easy if you just path and try not to reinvent the wheel. I get excited about this and also frustrated because for decades I've been teaching at NSA events and people go, well, you don't understand. My idea is really good. It's on customer service. Well, what's new about it? It's like freaking nothing. Talk to people, get knowledge, be brave, and you'll be so much ahead of the curve. It's so easy to do if you just take the right steps. I promise. I've seen thousands of people do it wrong and thousands of people do it right. I promise you, you're right there if you open your mind and start to follow the breadcrumb trail.
Don't hold back when Cindy's got a question for you.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, and Wendy, thank you so much for allowing some of us to come to your Q&A. I just have I've written 6 books, some with Kevin, all published with brick and mortar people, most of them with an agent who passed away. And also, but I'm also changing how I want to think about writing and write. It sounds like if I have an idea for a business book, I'm a business book person, and let's say I don't want speaking numbers necessarily, but I'm willing to develop social media numbers. Is that something that you're saying is viable? I understand it's about sales and about being out. Is that something that, am I thinking along the right track then for someone, academic consultant to sort of can position myself as an expert in my field at this point, but
so Cindy,
I'm most interested in if there's even an interest in someone who would beef up social media.
So Cindy, are you a consultant for companies I've heard of before?
Like what?
Are you a consultant for companies anybody has heard of before?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So how much of your business is consulting? If you were pitching me on becoming my client, how much of your business is consulting?
Well, typically it's most of my business, but now, no, not necessarily.
Not necessarily what? It's not most of your business anymore?
Right. No, right now I'm in an academic setting.
Okay, so an academic book is worth less than $5,000. You'll have trouble finding an agent. But if it's a business book that should be sold to academics for a course adoption, that's a $3,000 advance. Just write to Harvard Review Press and tell them that you're an academic with a PhD and that you'd be interested in writing a textbook for them and see what happens. That's the easiest route.
Yeah, no.
Social media will mean nothing in your case. With your content, social media will be completely irrelevant. And it's a lot of work to get to 1 million followers, right? I have 70,000 followers on Twitter, I think, and 20,000 on LinkedIn. And it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. You have to have a reason for doing it. And it's not something you're going to start and then tomorrow you're going to be this huge success. It doesn't work that way. And we're talking about really big numbers because remember, they're multiplying it by 0.25 or 0.025. It depends. Simon & Schuster has one of those numbers and Penguin Random House has another. So going out and building social media, just like these TEDx's, many people say, oh, I'm going to do a TEDx and then you'll want my book. Most TEDx's have fewer than 2,000 views and they're not even whole views in 2 years, right? So what have you proven to a publisher? I'm a failure. I don't know how to market myself. I'm waiting for other people to help me. I'm a baby. I don't understand the first thing about business. I'm being harsh because it's easier. We don't have a little time and it's easier than being nice and then getting all the, I don't know questions. It's just this way. I'm not making it up. So if you do this TEDx or you self-publish and the book fails, which most do at least from a publishing perspective, or you don't have a social media platform and you decide to build one today so that you can sell your book tomorrow, you got nothing. You know, you have to have something happening. They want to hitch their wagon to a star, not be the wagon that pulls the horse out of the barn. And so if you come in and you say, look, I'm a PhD and I'm writing this academic book and I've been teaching businesses and my consulting is, you know, Coca-Cola and Hewlett Packard and I don't know what else, Cisco, and I've got these amazing credentials and these corporations will buy units of my book for their C-level, C-suite or whatever. And I'm also, you know, expanding my brand by building an online course with LinkedIn Learning or whatever. Now suddenly they see that you've got something and that might, if it is not just an academically focused book and that's not your primary market, then you have something. If you just want to focus on academic, then you're going to get a tiny little advance, which means you won't get an agent.
Thank you so much. Thank
Sure.
you so much. That's just what I was hoping to latch into my brain is what the direction, how I would do that.
Right.
Thank
You
you,
know,
Wendy.
Wendy,
my service.
Wendy, I
Yeah.
do wish you would present with more passion and vitality, but
I'm
seeing
sorry.
as we're stuck with you on this.
I'm not a
Well,
speaker. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. But the question for you is, you said you get about 200 pitches a month, of which maybe you pick up 2 or 3. How
No.
do I get your
No.
attention if you never heard of me before, but something comes across your desk?
What I'm going to say is true for all literary agents. First of all, you know what? It's easier. Can I please save time? Go to YouTube and watch my video, Wendy's Rule of 30. Rule of 30, the number 30. Just watch that. That tells you everything I know about how to get an agent. And in my case, I'm a snob, so it's much harder. You know, you earn your place in my business just like you do as a speaker, right? You're not going to be a CPAE or win the Cavett, right? Until you've done some work. And so I feel like it's the same in every industry. And in my industry, I've earned the right to say no to, you know, all but 0.5 of those 200 pitches. And that's how most agents are. And it gets harder and harder for mid-list business authors to get into the business because what the publisher wants you to come in with gets bigger and bigger, whether we're talking about McGraw-Hill or Portfolio, Penguin Random House. So the market keeps shifting. The quality that needs to be there is quite is at a very different level, right? It's at a level that means that you have to show up as a real player, right? In the old days, I could sell a book from a speaker who told me they were doing 20 engagements a year and the book was kind of good and I could get $25,000 for it. Now I wouldn't even dare to pitch it, right? Much less get 25,000. So I hope that helps.
Is there a role for self-publishing?
So I'd like, thank you for reminding me, Kevin. So I'd like to talk about the difference between self-publishing, hybrid publishing, and real publishing or traditional publishing. So in the case of traditional publishing, you immediately get credibility with journalists. So my opinion of you guys as speakers, please, if you ever talk to another agent, don't tell them I said this. Seriously, I only say this to speakers. If you're a journalist, I started out as a journalist. I was the associate publisher of the second largest daily newspaper in Los Angeles. So I know that as a journalist, if your book is published by CreateSpace or Jonathan Smith's publishing company, I'm going to know 2 things about it. Number 1, it probably hasn't been edited. And number 2, it hasn't been vetted by professionals. It's you trying to push yourself. So people hire publicists or they pitch their book to journalists. Every journalist now knows that if it's self-published, especially if we can figure out that it's low-end self-publishing, it probably sucks as a book, which means you probably suck as a person to interview. Sorry, that's their prejudice. It's not mine, okay? So second thing is, if you choose to self-publish, and I don't disagree with self-publishing, it needs to be because you will never do a second book or only will self-publish for the rest of your life. And here's why. And this is horrible, but this is how it really works in publishing. So if someone self-publishes, which is out of those 200 pitches I get, usually 50-ish or more tag that they're self-published. I don't personally read those, but I have a system for someone who reads them. Most of them have to tag that they're self-published because they are. And when my assistant goes and looks at the number, we can see from Amazon whether or not the book is selling well. Now, you might sell 50,000 copies back of room, but we have no proof. So we're going to look at Amazon, which is roughly 50% of all the sales of books in America. We're going to look at the Amazon number called Amazon Rank, which is in the product details section. And we're going to say, oh, this person has failed. So because this book has failed, why would anyone want to take it on? A publisher would be much more excited about bringing on a virgin author who has a successful business growing, social media and publishing and media. And I mean, publishing as in the sense of like publishing a course or publishing ebooks or something like that, related to, but not the same as the book they're pitching, as opposed to this guaranteed albatross of this author who publishers, not me necessarily, but publishers will think, this person's a failure. Why would I ever take on their book? Right? So that's a bad thing. So I often tell authors, take your self-published book off the internet entirely so that the publishers can't see it when they go check, because they will go check. And that's because otherwise it's a bad deal. And the average self-published book sells 118 copies, according to our Bowker. Our Bowker is our like they keep track of the numbers in publishing. Our Bowker says the average self-published book sells 118 copies. You could still sell 5,000 back if you've only sold 118 copies, and the publisher can type in your ISBN and find out in a second what our Bowker shows, then they're going to go, not this one. So when you self-publish, if you self-publish, it needs to be because you could not wait or you could not get an agent to sell your book to a legitimate publisher. Those are the only two situations. Like I said, write the proposal, find an agent, let the agent shop it. It takes 6 weeks after I get something for me to sell it. And I'm only wrong about maybe one project every 2 years I take on that I don't sell. And then I just have the author revise it and then we sell it the next round. That's been true for, I don't know, 25 years out of my 34-year career. So it's not that I'm magical. This is expected from agents. But the point is that if you do that route, then you know that your only choice is to self-publish or hybrid publishing. Hybrid publishing is when you don't spend all the money, but you can lure someone in to be interested enough in your book that they'll take the risk of buying, of paying for the editorial development, which you will need, everyone does, and the cover design and the printing and the distribution, which they will have in a level you could never even imagine, right? There's all kinds of important distribution things that you don't see as the public that happen in the background with a real publisher or a hybrid publisher. And now the book comes out, people can order it. If you get lucky, please God, and you get on CNN, now people can order it. Whereas if it's only on Amazon, you're going to lose a big piece of your business, which will drop your sales. So now if you've got a hybrid publisher, people look at it differently. It means that your quality is relatively good compared to self-publishing where there's no quality control. And now you at least have some credibility. That's not a terrible choice, but you better work your little fanny off to make sure that book moves units, and you can prove it by looking at that ISBN. I hope that helps. Kevin, did that answer your question?
That does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John, you have a question?
Yeah, Wendy, thank you so much. So much great information here. I'm kind of a newbie. I've spent my career building a very successful consulting firm. I've just finished a doctorate. I'm planning to up. Thank you. I'm planning to up my speaking, and I'm learning a lot about the importance of social media and following and annual audiences from everything you're saying here. But what my question for you is what am I aiming for as I write the proposal and shop it to agents like yourself? Where do I fit into what you're looking for? Because I don't have 1 million followers. I'm not going to ever. I don't know, but like, how do I get on your radar in terms of what you're looking for, given where I'm starting?
So the fact that you have credentials is a big differentiator already. Right. I get pitched a lot of management and leadership books from speakers who have only managed and led their virtual assistant in India, which is an obvious no. Publishers are going to do their homework and figure it out. Also, and I want to say this is really important. If you guys are thinking of taking a note from this, I should be so arrogant, but if you're thinking of taking notes, if you are writing a business book, the only social media that matters, unless you're writing it for teenagers or people under 35, the only social media that matters is LinkedIn. Put all of your energy in LinkedIn. Don't waste time doing other things. There are no YouTube videos you're going to create that are going to get you the kind of success in a publisher's mind that LinkedIn will do right now. It may change tomorrow if a new thing comes on the market. But the first thing that I will do, that my assistant will do before she even sends me the material to consider, that every publisher will do, is look on LinkedIn if it's a business project, because you must be successful on LinkedIn, 15, 20, whatever thousand. What we're looking for is engagement numbers, right? We can't see how many followers you have, but we can see whether people are engaging. If people are not engaging with you, people tell me this all the time. I've been posting, like you said, on LinkedIn for 4 years. And last month I had 2 people say that they liked my post. That is not engagement on LinkedIn. So we're looking for that. So in your case, John, I would be asking you questions about what your intentions are. I would want to know who you've consulted for. Is it Johns Hopkins or is it, Illinois at Champaign, right? And, I'm not being disrespectful to them. My parents are in Illinois, but the point is I would be looking at to see who that is, what you consult on, if it's related to the content of the proposed book, if you have credibility on LinkedIn, which would be important, Also, if your material is differentiated, so what we're looking for, and you might have seen that on the slide that comes out of my book proposal workshop class. You guys, if I say anything and it goes right past you, please just email me or PM me or whatever. My email is wkeller@kellermedia.com. If you have follow-up questions, just for the people who are live in this event, not everybody who ever hears this in history, but if you're live on this event, you can email me at wkeller@kellermedia.com. Tell me you saw me at this, and I will answer your questions to the best of my ability. Okay, so, and John, the other thing I would be looking for is whether or not you're NDBM. That's my acronym, new, different, better, more. Are you presenting something that I haven't seen 9,000 times? Because as a person who specializes, for instance, in business/leadership books, I've seen it all. And in order to create something different, you better freaking have something I didn't just turn down last week or that wasn't sold. A lot of people say, well, all these books were big in 2015. Like, publishing works in 6-month mindset, you know? I hope
Great,
that
thank
helps.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. Becky.
So, Wendy, you had mentioned that for business books, LinkedIn. If it's
Yeah.
a self-help book, where would you suggest that we focus our attention?
So 90% of all self-help books are sold to women between the ages of 25 and 55. So men tend to not buy self-help books. I'm sure that there's more evolved men here who are going to complain about that and say that's not me, but that's just how it works, right? So if your book is likely to appeal to that particular group, you need to figure out whether those women are on Instagram because they're visual learners, or they're on Facebook, which because they're at the older end of that metric, right? Facebook skews towards different avatar. And, or you need to find out if they're on TikTok, right? So all that I've said about business, I have a client who has 800 or did have 870,000 TikTok followers. Her name is Tessa White. She's the one who's getting the billboard, right? The reason she's getting the billboard is because she now has over 1 million aggregate social media followers. The book is a business book though, which I know seems like it negates what I said, but if she hadn't also had that many followers and a presence on LinkedIn with high engagement, she wouldn't have gotten the deal. So Becky, your thing is to figure out where your avatar is. Every time an advertiser has a marketing package that they would send to someone that would show, well, these are, you know, the women in our group make $35,000 a year to 50,000, and they do this and they have this and they have 3 kids and they live in the Midwest, whatever it is, right? So you want to match the social media that you choose with the avatar, the psychographic, which means how they think, and the demographic of who they are, how old they are, all this other stuff, where they live, with your effort, and then pour all your energy, unless you love social media, pour all your energy into that group. That's your best option. Please don't do a TED Talk. Those tend to work backwards when it comes to this, unless you've already got the platform. So if you have a good platform, you do a TED Talk, you market the TED Talk so that you get tens of thousands of views, really tens of thousands, then you're in a position to sell the book. So otherwise a TED Talk is as bad as a self-published book for most people, although everyone thinks it's the holy grail. Becky, does that help?
No, it does help. And thank you. I'm laughing because my TEDx just hit 2 weeks ago.
I'm so sorry. Please put all your energy into marketing it. Okay. Market it like a crazy woman. Okay. Please do that because it needs to hit. So when they go and look, and they always go and look, those people in that little meeting, somebody's going to go look, guaranteed. Right, the sponsoring editor and then the marketing or the publicist or whatever, they're going to go look. And unless you're freaking making a splash and getting engagement, you're not going to get a book deal. It's going to work opposite. So many people do that and think it's a great idea, but you know, it works against you if you don't do it right.
Wendy, you sound like
Wendy.
Negative. I'm not trying to be negative to any of you. I'm just trying to tell you the way it really works.
Can I just ask one quick follow-up? So if you have several social media, am I hearing you correctly that maybe just focus on one till you get that? So you
if they have the matching avatar, if their avatar matches, right? I spend most of my social media time on Facebook where I've got all my friends from when I was a kid, right? So I do that and you know, whatever, but and a million speakers for some reason, you guys and other groups, but the former ASTD people, ASD, whatever they are now. Anyway, but if the avatar matches, then that's where you should be, as long as you're getting engagement. The trick is engagement. The whole trick is engagement.
And so if you're not, and if you're pivoting your business just a little bit, that's okay then, right? To keep the same Facebook
Yeah.
and then just kind of pivot it and then just redo those Facebook ads, redo the.
So if your Facebook ads are converting and you're making money off of it, then keep them. But Facebook ads, especially since the changes with Meta, have been less than successful for most of my clients and certainly for me. So I feel like Facebook ads may not be worth the dollars. You need to check and see if that's a return on investment. But more importantly, if for those of you who are thinking about what I'm saying and you think Facebook has your avatar, then you really need to consider setting up a public figure page. You guys are public figures like the Kardashian persons and all this other stuff. So you want to start to think about differentiating it from the where you post pictures of your puppy, right? The public figure page gives you the chance to build an audience that's in alignment perfectly, right? The reason I am friends with speakers on my personal page is not because I just like speakers I've never met, although I love all of you. But the point is, what I'm trying to do is make it clear that I'm an agent and that I own a bureau and that I book things, interspersed with how lovely I am as a person and how charming I am because I go to the beach near my home, right? So I'm making this a very curated presentation I make on Facebook. I also have a public figure page for something else I'm interested in, and one for the agency that I hardly ever use because my market's on LinkedIn. Most of my leads come from LinkedIn. So, and I'm not advising you guys to do LinkedIn because it works for me. I'm telling you it works for all business authors. I think that's it. Christina?
Do all of your authors have to have your same level of energy?
Yeah, no, I just am really sad at watching so many speakers over the decades and general people too, but mostly speakers, because I really, really love the NSA. So Connor, do I have a minute to tell my story?
Go for it. Yeah.
So there's a book back in the old days, there was a publishing conference called American Booksellers Association. And at that Booksellers Association, a publishing colleague of mine introduced me to this speaker named Tom Winninger. And Tom Winninger said, "Oh, I'm the president of the National Speakers Association." And I was like, "Nobody in publishing has ever heard of that. Thank you very much. But what else have you got?" And he goes, "Well, I speak and I could sell it in the back of the room." And I was like, "Okay, I can sell that." So I sold his book to a publisher that became Random House. They weren't at that moment. And I sold his book and it did really well. I think that was Price Wars was the first. I think we've done 2 or 3 books together, but it was Price Wars. And I was like, okay, and simultaneously, I was one of Tony Robbins' testimonials on his infomercial. And so I had 40,000 views of me, I guess, every single week across the United States. And so I was speaking at a conference about publishing. And my friend, my colleague on the platform said, "Well, can you drop me off at this conference? I'm going to the National Speakers Association because it's on your way home." So I dropped him off and I walk in and there's Tom Winninger on the IMAGs and there's 3,200 people in the room. And I was like, oh my God, I was totally wrong about speakers. Oh my God. Because I had just been selling experts and PhDs and Nobel nominees, all this stuff. And I was like, oh no. So I went up to Tom and I was like, and a lot of people knew me because of the Tony Robbins thing. And that was how I started at NSA because I sold the president. And then I sold so many other people, Cathcart and all these other people. And it was like such an interesting thing to see how hard you guys work. And I fell in love with NSA. I attended regularly 2 or 3 times a year. And I've done trainings for you guys in Tempe and all this other stuff. But I fell in love with the heart it takes to share your message. All of you are coming from a beautiful place in your lives. And I think that you are the nicest, kindest, most energizing people I've ever known. And you get bad advice and you sign with Wiley, or you do stupid things like think that you're going to be a superstar on social media if you delegate it to people in India. Please don't do that. Do it the way it's supposed to be done so you can have the success you each deserve for your willingness to share what you know with the public. Not many people are called to be speakers. I love you guys. Please just do it the right way and get the best results. Please.
Wendy, you mentioned Tessa Smith there a second ago. I just checked her Instagram.
Tessa White.
Sorry. Yeah. I just checked her Instagram. She's got almost 500,000 Instagram followers. But what I'm intrigued at.
Yeah, look on TikTok. She's got 875,000.
I will, and I'm going to follow her and try to understand exactly what she's doing. Because what I'm intrigued is she's only posted 560 times, which is not a lot, and yet she's able to get 500,000 viewers. So she's obviously got a skill set and an ability to be able to connect and get engagement from the audience.
Her strength is TikTok. Please look her up on TikTok if you want to replicate, guys.
Wendy, you sound like you're the Ferrari of literary agents. Where do we find a literary agent if we don't make the grade with you?
Go to YouTube, like somebody put it in the chat. I saw that. Thank you, whoever did that. Please go look and see Wendy's Rule of 30 on YouTube. That is the answer to how to get a literary agent.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And thank you for the implicit compliment, Kevin. I appreciate that. Very kind.
George, you had a question.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I had a question about your comment on Wiley. Why avoid Wiley?
Because they require you to guarantee and sign a contract to pre-purchase more copies than they give you in advance. So, and also they do zero, as in zero, for marketing. And don't believe anyone who tells you different who works for Wiley. And there's no self-respecting agent remaining in the United States. I guarantee it. I know my colleagues who would ever pitch a book to Wiley. You would have to be crazy to sign with them because they forced you to buy back more books. So you think about it. So let's say the book sells for $22, like in my example, and they're going to give 55% to distribution, right? So if it's a $22 book, they're giving, let's say $11. That leaves them $11. Out of that $11, you're making $1.10 maybe. You may or may not ever see that money because you have to pre-purchase, you have to guarantee that you're going to sell 4,000 units. When you sell 4,000 units, you've negated the advance they gave you, and you'll be on the hook. If you get cancer, God forbid, and you can't sell them, they're going to be calling you. Hey, this is the collections department. You better buy those damn books. That is not the way to do publishing. It is unethical. It is unfair, and it is abusive to the authors. They're taking advantage of your innocence, and it is just wrong. And like I said, I am partly responsible. I told the editor who created this program at Wiley, I was selling them a lot of books. And he said, where do you keep getting these incredible speakers? And I said, oh, I go to this thing called the National Speaking Association. And at the next NSA National, guess who was there with a booth? And he started lying to speakers. And that's how the rest of it happened. That's my big mouth that got you guys in this trouble. And I am very sorry.
Now, it took Cindy and I about 6 months of saying, no, we're not going to do that. We will do our best, but we're not guaranteeing anything, for them to finally say, okay. But it was relentless. St. Martin did the opposite of that. So they did 2 more books, and they were delightful to work with. So, yeah.
Wendy, is it possible for you to stay calm when we talk about vanity publishing, which is kind of a bit like Wiley?
No, I mentioned self-publishing. Self-publishing is fine if you plan to never find a publisher, because the average self-published book on the trades, that ISBN number, right? That ISBN number, the average number is 118. So let's say it takes you 2 years and you're selling back a room and you're happy because you self-published, but nothing is happening through the trades. The number of conversions. So if you sell BOR, right? Now back a room. If you sell BOR books and you sell 1,000 units, you're likely to sell 2 in the trades. Trades means traditional bookstore selling methodologies. So if you sell 50,000 units, right? 50,000 units back a room, like Willie Jelly did before I sold his book to a publisher. If you sell 50,000 units of the book, and now we're going to go and look at how many sell to publishing, that's 2 for every 1,000, right? So that's a very small number. If you are selling 1,000 or 2,000 units a year through the trades, through Amazon and other book vending opportunities, you are going to look like you failed, even if you didn't fail. It's not fair, but that's how publishers look at it. And no matter what I say, they will not overcome that. They will look at it that way. So the process, please, before you self-publish, the process is to think through your book by writing a quality proposal. Come to my class, bookproposalworkshop.com. I do another one in the fall, and there's one going right now. Or you can also read the books on it, although make sure you read a current book on how to do it. You won't get any editorial help like you do in my class, but it'll at least give you somewhere to start to think about the book. Think about it when you're writing the proposal, not when you're writing the book. People go, well, I have to write the whole book so I know what I want to say. That's just a lack of professionalism on your part. I'm sorry. So you write this proposal and then you find an agent. And if you pitch 30 agents, Wendy's Rule of 30 YouTube, if you pitch 30 agents and they all say no, you either need to change the proposal or you need to wait on the proposal because it's not ready yet, or you're writing something that's stupid, sorry, or you're writing something that everyone else has written. It must be new, different, better, more. The idea that you're going to write a management book when all you manage is your virtual assistant in India doesn't make you qualified. John has an EDD, right? He's in a position to write books that are related to his educational degree. You don't necessarily have to have a degree, but you better have some expertise. You better be consulting multinational companies or even national companies. You got to have something to make you be a professional. Then you can move through it. If you don't get an agent and you just got to get that book out there for some unknown reason, or you got the idea that you're going to do something and it's going to change the world and magically sell a lot of copies, then go ahead and self-publish. But when it doesn't sell a lot of copies, you do not have the option to come back. You're not a virgin author anymore. I do hourly, this is not a pitch. I do 1 hour consulting. If you're interested, kellermedia.com/rent. I also, for a very small number of people, do 6-month consulting, which is really expensive. And it gets them further as a speaker, but more importantly, it gets them to a place where a publisher will acquire them. I guess that is a pitch, but I'm really picky about what I do with both of them. So I'm not making it necessarily available to all. But the point is, you've got to think about this like a business person. You've got to enter it going, what do they want? What do they need from me? What is the world looking for, which you prove with social media that's successful and gets high engagement? And what do I then offer the world through a publisher or as a speaker that will make that successful? Until you know what you're going to give that's different, you're competing with everybody else, and that's going to come back and bite you in the bum.
Well, you know what? I think a tornado has just gone down the road there. It's called the tornado, Wendy.
I love you all. Thank you for being speakers. It's a pleasure.
Wendy, you're absolute star. Thank you so much for your time on this. We have recorded it and it goes up to our NSA Speaker Academy playlist on our NSA Illinois website, so people can come back and look at it again. We've got your contact details. We'll encourage them to look at the 30
rule of 30
ideas. But I thank you so much for your time today. It has been an absolute pleasure, not just to hear your content, but your calm, understated delivery as well.
Thanks for having me, Connor. Bye, everyone. Take care. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. See ya. Bye. Okay.
Wow.